Hey guys, welcome to our podcast show. Have you ever been on a road trip in an EV? Well, on our podcast show this week, we did just that. We went an epic road trip of over 1,920 kilometers across Canada in an EV, and we wanted to share our experience. If you don't believe it can be done, then you'll have to listen to this podcast. Yes, joining me each and every week is our co-host Stephen Fung. Yes, who will give us a breakdown on the following, the route that we took there and back, the availability of locations and charging stations across Canada, the actual cost of charging, and what to expect with some advice as well on long road trips. So before we continue, let's ask Stephen what he thought of our road trip.
Well, first of all, I need to spread some facts here. We didn't travel across Canada. We traveled up to northern British Columbia, which is not the rest of Canada, but it is the most rugged part of Canada.
Nice.
Which means that EVs allegedly don't work.
Who told you that?
People.
People
who don't own EVs have said that EVs don't work in northern BC. Well, obviously they did because we made it back.
Yeah, we made it there and back.
We went all the way up to Prince George. We could have gone on to Prince Rupert, which is the farthest town, furthest
northwest,
east, northwest. Never eat shredded wheat. Northwest. Furthest northwest town.
Okay.
That is on the map with a road. So we could have added another 10 hours to go there, but we did not because we weren't that adventurous. So we went up to the largest northern city in British Columbia, once rated the most dangerous city in Canada, but no longer.
Okay.
It's pretty trendy there now. It does have a very big prison that we drove by. And we had we met some very interesting people.
Yeah, we did.
Places.
Yeah, that's right. We had to do a lot of kind of like visit small towns and things like that.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that. In Prince George, we met some very interesting people, including your friend by the car.
So, yeah. They would hover around the car, look what's inside to have that opportunistic kind of
When you're traveling, do take care. And also, as an EV driver, because they know that your car is at the chargers, please be nearby while you are charging because, you might have someone take that opportunity because you've been there for 30 minutes to kind of skulk around. And,
but these road trips are not new to you, right? You've actually traveled across Canada as well, right? To Alberta and other places, but that's all in an EV as well?
Technically, I haven't traveled across Canada yet. That is my next trip next year sometime.
Okay.
So I've traveled
to the next province.
Okay. Which is very big because as we were discussing in the car, because we had a lot of time, BC is like 3 times the size of the UK where you're from.
I think it's more than that. Okay, even the British Columbia province is like twice the size.
So I could travel across the country 3 times or 4 times of England.
Yeah, it's our north, the southern tip of UK to the northern tip up in Scotland is about only like 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
Miles. So that's kilometers, 1,600?
Yep. And we travel 1,920. Okay. So up to one of the biggest northern cities, which is Prince George. And, one of the things as an EV driver is that over the last couple years, that same drive, I probably would not have been able to do so smoothly and so successfully just a short 2 years ago. There was literally no way. I had gone to a place called Barkerville, which is one of the one of the most famous gold rush towns. Billy Barker, the gold rush, one of the first Chinatowns and Chinese restaurants in Western Canada also are there. But that trip was it had its own challenges as well too, because certain places where I needed to have a strategic charge and meal and whatnot, and to drop the family off for their runaround, they only had one single charger, and in those places I had to wait behind other vehicles.
They didn't have that infrastructure in place.
Not yet. This time
there is.
There is almost quadruple the amount of chargers, and in places where chargers never existed before, there was a charger.
Yeah, you found some new places. So, okay, let's talk about the route. Planning a long road trip away, planning is always advisable, right? So, here's some questions that I think are important.
Go for it.
What are the best apps to use to plot a road trip? Because you need those apps to plot road trips, right? And what do you use, and how good was it?
Well, the apps that I used are actually quite common for the EV community, but if you're not aware of them, you should be, because they will help you a lot. So the first app that I used was something called a Better Route Planner. Okay. Now this app is now partially owned by Rivian, which is another manufacturer. They now are partnered to make the app better. Like that's all they want to do. They want to make the app better. So this is a route planning app that takes into consideration the model of your vehicle. And if you have the premium version of it, which has a wireless link via USB dongle to your vehicle, it can actually predict and also
it reads the car information, right?
It reads it directly. So every time when we were driving, it in real time figured out terrain, altitude, battery temperature, and everything, and adjusted the route accordingly.
Right. But also, what differentiates this kind of GPS roadmap thing, it also spots or puts in the locations of the chargers, right? Yeah,
it's getting better. It's not the best app for that. It's getting better. I think that when we were driving out, we didn't see one charger. It was actually down the road, not in this app. So this app does have some quirks to it that are being ironed out every single day. But as far as an overall planning tool for getting out there for a long road trip, you have a strategic advantage in where you need to go. First of all, because I set the app to give us the fastest drive possible.
Right.
From point A to point B in an EV based on my vehicle's consumption.
Right.
Both real time and historic.
And it would be different for a different EV.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So it's got my charging curve. It knows when I charge the fastest, which is something that every vehicle does have. It's like, for example, my vehicle charges the fastest at 18 or 19%, maxes out, then drops at like 70%, then drops again. So if I'm always charging between 18% and 70%, it's as fast as it can go.
Yeah, that leads to the next question where it says, am I always looking for a fast charger while traveling?
No, actually, you're not. It depends on what you're doing there. If you're going to explore a town, right,
couple hours, 3-4 hours.
You're there for 3-4 hours. There's no point in using a DC fast charger and actually spending additional money to get the faster charge. You're better off finding a level 2 charger where you can just leave it there for a while, pay the lowest possible rates, and just
explore
wander.
The town.
Just wander.
Yeah, explore the town, stuff like that.
Like an average vehicle will go from 20 to 80% within about 7 to 8 hours. So if you got to the town with like half the battery, you would be almost full by the time you left the town.
Yeah. So DC fast charger is great for almost like pit stops, right?
Pit stop.
Half an hour, 40 minutes.
Half an hour, 40 minutes. You go in there to have a quick meal, and you're off again.
Or coffee, toilet break, and stuff like that, right?
I mean, you take a stopwatch out. By the time you've gotten out of the vehicle, stretched, cleaned your windshield, gone to the corner store from the bugs, which there are a lot of, gone inside the store, looked around, wandered around, gotten your pop and your chips and everything like that, gotten back, sat there, drank your pop and your chips because you shouldn't eat in your car. Because it's disgusting, and then gotten back on the road, you're already like 20 minutes.
Okay, okay. And again, this is where the next question is: do I need to charge regularly on the road trip? So, in other words, for example, most people drive for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then take a break, right? Yeah. Do I need to in between stop and just charge up, top up, or just continue to do as long as you can?
There is always opportunity charging, and any opportunity that you can stop your vehicle, even if it's near a charger, just go ahead and plug in, because it just saves you time in the long run. You have to stop anyway. You might as well not waste that time, and just go ahead and plug it into a charger, whether it's a level 2 or DC fast charger, if you're making a short stop. And the reason why is because if you're always charging, you always shorten your route on time.
Yeah. It will take a little bit longer, of course. The reason why I'm asking is because us being like healthy, young, whatever.
Yep.
I'm not young, but young. Can take a longer trip. Whereas if you have a family of 5, 4, whatever, elderly, then they need to have possibly shorter range because they're toilet breaks and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And things like that, family members. So that's what I'm saying. Get opportunity to charge, go for it, right?
If you're eating, it's eaten, right? Basically, that's what. If it's resting, it can take a rest as well too. And it doesn't matter what charger you go on. If you stop, go. And one of the nice things too about doing that is that most locations these days are near strip malls, are near restaurants.
Yeah.
We actually went by a place called the Sugar Shack in 70 Mile House. It actually had a Tesla destination charger. And if you have an adapter for a Tesla destination charger, not supercharger, they're different. This is like a level 2 charger. While you're there eating for the hour and a half and buying maple syrup and other Quebec-inspired things and petting the dog in 70 Mile House, you could just pick up a charge. And they're not that busy all the time. They're basically a drive-through stop. And because it's so remote, chances of you being able to get a charge on that charger is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, talking about the apps, the people are pretty scared of no signal. I mean, when I'm looking at my phone, there's no signal. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Right? So, do road maps use GPS or cellular? And, because I noticed when you're driving, there was no signal, right?
There's no signal at all.
But the map was still running. And like your app that you were saying still shows all the important information, such as the car's information, like you mentioned, and also the charge stations location. So again, GPS versus cellular, kind of like what's the what you need?
Well, GPS is based on maps. Data,
maps, okay.
Right? It's not based on cellular data.
The app has already downloaded apps, right?
Yeah. When I plotted the route, I already downloaded the map. So that means that wherever we go, we are being guided by GPS.
Yeah.
That's how GPS guidance systems actually work. They don't work on cellular.
Yeah, because
they
cellular,
work on GPS A and GPS
like
B.
Google Maps, rely on cellular.
They don't.
But when when I look at my Google Maps, it doesn't show anything when there's no signal.
If you have your map set up, this is maybe a pro tip. If you have your map set up to actually download the areas in which you're traveling, they are always offline.
Okay. Or you can download but
that's a setting on your phone.
A lot of people don't use. Well, they're not aware of this, right?
Yeah,
so,
it's a setting on your phone on the app, that you use to download the map and actually populate it. As you move around, you will have GPS guidance because those coordinates are fixed.
Yeah,
they're fixed on the planet, unless the planet moves, in which case we're screwed, and you're screwed. But GPS, global positioning systems, are fixed points with a fixed map. So longitude and latitude, all points are fixed. So as long as that map is available on your device, and usually it is, like in the case that we plotted our route in advance, I already had all those maps on my device. It just updated certain key information. Maybe a place is busy or closed or something like that. That's the only thing it updated.
So remember if you plan your long trip, make sure you download those maps previously so that it makes it easier, right?
It's not an EV or a specific thing. It's just that if you're going to travel somewhere and you know you have no cellular signal because it's remote, you should do that as a safety measure, because if they're not on your phone, you don't know where you're going.
Exactly.
Right?
So pro tip. Okay, great. Charging stations now, moving on. Okay, so people can be confused about the availability and locations of charging stations. So let's dig deeper. What's the difference between a charging, what types of charging stations are there? There, like you got DC fast chargers. There's ones from different companies like BC Hydro. There's the Electrify Canada. Okay. And of course, you got the Tesla chargers. They're all different. They operate differently.
Well, let's break it down to the dispensing of the power. So at the very bottom, you have the charger. That's an AC charger that comes with the vehicle that runs off 110, 120 volts at the wall. That might give you 1.1, 1.3 kilowatts per hour. If your battery is 60 kilowatt, then you would take almost 60 hours to charge that battery.
Right.
Do the math. Very simple.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So in a lot of places where they don't have any charging access, but they have a wall socket, that's what you would expect to get.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So a lot of places in Alberta, of all places, they have these posts that are set up with a plug.
Okay.
That's to keep the engine warm so that in the morning it doesn't. You can start the engine.
Okay.
Okay, because they freeze.
Okay.
Right. So you can use that to
That's
charge your
110.
vehicle. That's 110.
Okay. Okay.
That's 110, and they may go intermittent.
Yeah.
So you might not get constant charging. You might get intermittent charging.
Okay.
But still, it's something. And but it's not nothing, but it's something.
Okay. Moving on to level 2 then. These are not widely available along the the route that we took, right? Because we didn't see any.
We did in Lillooet.
Oh, just the one, right?
No, there's several.
There's several?
We just never went to them.
Oh, because they're charging at a different rate.
It's how we're traveling.
Okay.
So when we went to Pemberton, BC, on our way back, we were plugged in at a level 2 charger at the community center.
Yeah, because we went for food. It took about an hour-ish.
Yeah,
We
weren't in a rush.
We weren't. Okay, so it wasn't
no
a
rush.
so-called pit stop. It was more of a...
And this is back to the example that you were saying. Well, we're going to stop there. We're going to walk around a little bit. We didn't need that charge at all. We didn't need to be there.
Okay.
But because we were there,
You
we
might as
plugged
well.
in. We plugged in.
Yeah.
It was a good parking spot. It was nice and scenic. There were lots of people around. Why not? Why the heck not? And it was only $1.50 to park there for 2 hours.
Oh, it's true.
So cheap, right?
And then we saw a lot
that
of,
is a level 2 charger.
We saw We saw a lot of fast chargers.
We saw a lot of fast chargers, but we didn't finish with the level 2. The level 2 over the AC charger is 240 volts.
240 volts,
right?
okay.
Up to 40 amps, 48 maybe. And they usually charge anywhere between, 5 kilowatts, 5 kilowatts hours, up to 11.
So level 1, 110 volts could take up to 60 hours as your wall socket, right?
Yeah.
Level 2, 240 volts, how many hours?
Depending on the speed of the charger.
Right.
And again, if another charger parks beside you, it splits it. So this is the case with charge points, unless they're completely metered, completely separated. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it charges at 7.6 or 7, round number, right? So 7, your battery is 60, so it should get a completely full charge in under 10 hours.
Under 10 hours, but most people charge between like 2 to 3 hours, right?
Yeah, you can do it 2 to 3 hours at a time, because again, even at 2 to 3 hours, that's 1/3 of your battery. That's like 150 kilometers of travel. That is more than most people commute in British Columbia on a normal commute.
All right.
Right?
So apart from those, we saw a couple of those along the way, but most of the chargers that we saw were DC fast chargers, like you said, right?
The ones that we saw were DC because that was our plan.
That's our plan.
So those were the ones that are at the gas stations. Those are the ones at some of the larger rest stops. Those are the ones that were in some remote areas because they want to make sure that, like the infrastructure is there for the EV adoption to happen, right? So those chargers were fast, in addition to level 2s as they are available. So the sites that I pointed out to you, they had DC fast chargers, but they actually had level 2s parked beside them as well too.
Okay.
So if like at a campground, if you need to get going, you're stopping by, you go into the bathroom, you want a DC fast charger. If you are going there for a hike or doing a little bit of sightseeing, level 2, plug into that. That's more appropriate for you. Also cheaper as well too.
Yeah.
Right? So we saw both of them. So DC fast chargers are, again, DC.
Fast.
DC. Some people call them level 3, but they're technically DC fast chargers on a completely separate type of technology in terms of power distribution, right? They charge much, much faster directly into the battery. They bypass the conversion.
And is that what you prefer to use while you're on a road trip?
If it's for time, yes. If it's not for time, level 2.
Okay.
Right? So level 1 and 2 are AC. So that's the Edison model. DC is Tesla.
Okay.
Tesla as in the Nikola Tesla, not the company with the crazy CEOs. Right? So those chargers range anywhere between, at some of the lower power rest stops, they start at 25 kilowatt. So that's at least triple to quadruple the amount that a level 2 gives you already. But at most of the DC fast chargers within British Columbia that we found in abundance, they are 50 kilowatt to 100. And then with some of the other stations like Electrify Canada or Petro-Canada, when they are working, because Petro-Canada is crap in this part of the country. And this is not just me saying it. The data supports that on another app that I should probably talk about as well too, that they are bad. They're rated poorly by all EV drivers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those go up to 350
Oh,
if your
they're-
vehicle can handle it.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Right.
So all charging stations, they charge, obviously, I don't think they charge the same, right? They different companies, different charging rates.
Yeah.
Which one do you find is most
Most DC fast chargers charge within the range of rates,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't vary that much.
Okay.
Okay.
Couple of cents.
So, for example, BC Hydro on their 50 kilowatt charger, they charge 21 cents per minute. The one that goes up to 100, they charge 27 cents per minute. So it's not that bad.
Yeah.
On the Electrify Canada chargers, they've started to convert them to kilowatt hour charging. So it was actually 21 cents per kilowatt hour.
So they
27 cents.
So there are price differences.
Yeah.
But the difference is only a couple of cents, right?
It's only a few cents. The only exception would be Petro Canada, with the worst chargers in Western Canada, but also the highest rate. They charge 50 cents a minute.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And then Tesla has their own model as well too, where they can charge surge pricing and all sorts of funny things that they can do as the chargers load up.
Yeah.
They charge more money as the chargers load up during peak times.
We
Okay?
call them peak hours.
Peak hours, surge pricing is just like Uber and Lyft. So if you're not aware of that, it's not uniform pricing on a Tesla
All right.
sometimes.
This is a question I always get asked. Can you charge an EV, a normal EV, other than Tesla, on a Tesla charging station, and vice versa? If I have a Tesla, can I use a normal EV charging station? So
Tesla's
tell a little bit more.
traditionally Tesla superchargers, not the destination chargers. Those are technically level 2s,
All right.
AC. Superchargers are DC fast chargers based on Tesla vehicles initially.
Okay.
Right? What's happening is that the network is opening up because the North American charging standard, there's a lot of excitement behind adopting a single charging standard. And a lot of the manufacturers are on board with that. They are also on the other side, they formed a coalition to build an alternate charging network because they just simply don't trust Elon. Okay? Fair.
Okay, fair.
Right? Fair. Based on history, right? So Tesla superchargers right now in North America, there are a few stations opening up with what they call a magic dock. The magic dock is basically a fitting that is built into the supercharger that dispenses either the North American charging standard, which is Tesla's native, or if you're driving in with a Rivian and they detect your vehicle through the app and you're activating the charging session, it will put an adapter onto it. When you pull it out, it will be CCS charging, CCS1, which is the charging standard that most EVs that are not Tesla use today. And then you can plug that in.
Okay. So it can be done, but you need adapters.
No, that's not what I said. What I said is that those chargers need to have the magic dock.
Okay.
You can't just plug an adapter in. It will not work.
Because you had experience where a Tesla driver was like going crazy.
In 70 Mile House, where Sugar Shack is, there's a corner store down the highway. If you're heading away from Prince George, and there's this Tesla lady. She drove up to a BC Hydro charger at the corner store. She's waving the thing around, and she's on her phone. And I think she was upset that this standard did not work on her Tesla vehicle.
Right.
Okay. So can Teslas charge with other CCS chargers that are not Tesla? Yes, they can if they have an adapter.
Okay.
The lady clearly did not have an adapter.
There you go. That she needs one of those.
Yeah. So on this end of the spectrum, yes, Teslas have more options with an adapter, which can be a few $100s, maybe less. The good ones obviously are at least $300-400. On our side, as people that don't drive Teslas, I drive a Niro, he drives a VW. You are going to have to find a Tesla charger that has the magic dock attached to it.
Right. Okay.
You cannot use a third-party charger. It does not work. If it doesn't come out of the dispenser in the right form, if it doesn't have that connector in the right form, you're not charging anywhere.
Okay. So in other words, if you drive a non-Tesla EV, it's recommended try not to use a Tesla charger because it's too complicated. Just go for the other ones, right? BC Hydro.
It's not just that. It's the fact that this is very limited rollout.
Yeah.
There are 2 stations in Canada.
Yeah.
16 chargers in total in like Ontario, in the northern part of Ontario. That's where they are in Canada.
Yeah, because when we drove that route that we did, I didn't see many Tesla chargers. There's only ones which are the locations. The bigger
one,
towns,
Hope.
right?
Yep.
Other smaller kind of gas stations and smaller towns, they don't have any. So.
Yeah, Quesnel did have them. The extra foods that we went to had both BC Hydro chargers. There's double them now. There's actually quadruple because when I went there the first time 2 years ago, there was only one single CCS charger for other EVs.
Oh.
Now there's 4. And there's 2 where we were.
Yeah.
There used to be 1, and there's 2 more attached to the bank of 8 Tesla chargers that were down the street. We actually drove by that, and I pointed them out.
So the deployment of chargers are getting a bit more ramped up. So that's good.
Again, those chargers, to be to reiterate this point, so that you don't become the charging wand waving lady, is that a Tesla supercharger must have a Magic Talk built into it. You cannot use a third-party adapter. You cannot just simply roll up and expect to charge. In Canada, so that Elon can access the charger money, he's put 2 flow chargers at the end of his chargers.
Oh, okay.
So that they can be used with regular CCS vehicles,
right.
Which is basically everyone else except for Tesla. So it's good advertisement for Tesla because people can see all the chargers there, and the 2 chargers on the end, they charge significantly slower.
Okay, makes sense. All right. So let's talk a little bit about costs of the actual trip. So you're probably asking, how much did this road trip cost in terms of charging? Well, let's take a closer look. What was the total cost of charging the EV for the 1,920 kilometers trip?
$77.
You worked it out totally.
Of course I worked it out. See, I like facts. That's the fact.
Well, that's cheap. So what would be the equivalent cost if I was in a gas car?
Okay. Well, let's take it one step at a time. 1,920 kilometers.
Yeah.
If your vehicle used 8 liters per 100 kilometers,
okay,
right, you would be 19.2
okay,
times 8
okay,
times the price of gas. So work that out. 19.2 times 8
times 8
times we were seeing $1.75 up there, so used 1.75.
1.75.
What's the total?
Okay, so you look at $270
$270 plus tax.
plus tax.
My prices included tax, so
is it include
$77
tax?
including tax.
That's
I worked out every single penny. That's what it costs.
How much is tax?
13%. 12. Sorry,
Well,
5 and 7. 12%. Sorry,
$300.
almost $300 in gas.
Yeah.
Right. So this is not fake news. This is just math. It's not political. It's not emotional. It's just what it cost us, right? So I saved every single receipt because actually it's easy to do because all the apps log all your charging sessions. It gives you the after-tax amount.
Yeah.
All I did was took a spreadsheet, added them all up, and came up with that. And it's about 4 cents a kilometer.
So $77 versus $300 for this road trip.
You save $200 basically. Over $200, right?
With the apps, so the different charging stations use different apps, and do most charging stations accept credit cards, or did you register the app and put all your details in first?
Okay, this is the interesting part, and this is the part where I'm frustrated. Many people are frustrated, and that's the fact that not all stations actually have a card reader.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
BC Hydro stations are the ones that you have experience with, and you either need the app, which may not work in a remote location, or you need the RFID card, which I have.
All right, so you can get the card.
Yep.
You sign up for it, and that's tied to your credit card.
Tied to your credit card.
And then you could use that anywhere. And just say, for example, you don't have a cell signal, but you still have the card. You just tap it
and go. Not one time did you probably saw me. Not one time did I have to take out my phone. I just went like this, plug it in, tap, beep.
Okay.
Go to the convenience store, go to the bathroom.
Right.
That's basically what happened with us.
Okay. So kind of different payment systems for different charges.
Yeah, different payment systems. But one of the nice things about the BC Hydro card, once you get it, and this is our local utility in British Columbia, which is a public utility.
Right.
They run almost 100% on water, which means that they're using hydroelectric. So our vehicles in BC are even greener than anywhere else in Canada, with the exception of parts of Ontario, which are also 100% green
okay.
hydro.
Okay.
And also, I think Manitoba, Saskatchewan also has hydropower as well too. So, correct me on that if I'm wrong. But the BC Hydro card is connected to other networks such as ChargePoint
Yeah, I noticed that.
and also Flow.
Flow, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you probably noticed that when I was in Pemberton, I tapped exactly the same card, my BC Hydro card, on the Flow charger, and it worked.
Oh, it worked okay.
Yeah.
So they're like a partner.
It's
kind of companies.
kind of a partner network. When you look at the Flow app and the BC Hydro app, they're almost identical.
They almost, identical.
They're almost
yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can use the Flow card if you want, or you can use the BC Hydro card
And
if
now
you
they
want.
work on both, vice versa.
They work in both. It doesn't matter. ChargePoint.
nice,
There's a
nice.
few other ones in Quebec which we'll never see. I think it's Ivy Charge or one of the other ones. But every all of these networks across it, you're guaranteed Flow right
Yep.
across Canada.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
almost everywhere. But with some of the other networks like Electrify Canada, they do have card readers, but
Right.
sometimes they just don't work. So, and also, if you want the best possible rates, I pay an additional $4 for our trip to pay a 21 cent per kilowatt charge.
And what's the benefit of that?
You save 7 cents per kilowatt,
Because you're subscribed.
or 6 cents. My bad.
Because you're
I pay the $4.
okay. So it's
So-
a membership thing.
Yeah. So how many kilowatts do you need to charge to make the $4 back? Pretty simple, right? 6 cents, $4 divided by 6 cents, right? So that's like what? 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. 70 kilowatts. I pick up, that's 2 charges.
Yeah. You
Just to
do.
charge.
You
It's
get
done.
that money back.
Yeah, get the money back
Yeah.
really fast when you charge
Okay.
on a trip.
Okay.
Also, probably one of the most reliable networks in Canada across to Calgary and now
Yeah.
hopefully Manitoba and Saskatchewan because they're putting up stations hopefully by the end of the year. So our cross Canada trip, the real one, not cross Canada, cross Canada,
We went up.
will actually happen because of the addition of these
That's great.
strategic charging hubs.
Yeah, like you mentioned, a year ago, you wouldn't be able to make that trip up to Prince George.
It would have been difficult, and I would have had to rely on level 2 chargers, which would extend the period of our
Yeah.
trip. This time, going up to Prince George, we left at 7 o'clock.
That's right.
I came here at 7:30.
Yeah, in Richmond.
Yeah, and we ended up in Prince George by just before 7 o'clock.
Yeah, so it's a 12-hour trek, but in between we had like
We stopped.
We stopped. We
places.
had food. We charged.
Yeah.
It was like 30 minutes. We had coffee at Hope.
Yeah.
Right, and some snacks there.
Yeah.
and then we went up to Cache Creek where he got bitten by shitloads of flies.
flies. I hate them.
But that's interesting. Nice pit stop. You'll see Tesla chargers and you see the BC Hydro chargers there, and people are just parking.
Yeah, so that was my example, is that where BC Hydro is, and there were actually flow chargers on the other side of those Tesla chargers. We just didn't use them.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they're all there.
Yeah.
So that's how Elon gets his kickback money from the Canadian government to build out his chargers, because he has to provide access to other EV manufacturers, right?
Okay.
And that's why in Canada they're not in any rush to kind of do that. There's only 2 stations in Ontario that actually have the next generation Tesla chargers. But what I found out from another YouTube creator, Andrew Lawrence, his channel is EV Evolution. He found out that in his EV6, he was only getting 42 kilowatts off of a charger that's capable of like 250.
It wasn't allowing. It was limiting it.
It was limiting the charge.
Purposely.
Don't know. Don't want to stir up any hornets, but it was slow for him. So, that's a Tesla supercharger is basically to him like a 50 kilowatt kilowatt DC fast charger with BC Hydro. If you really need it, it's there, but it's really, really, but unlike the BC Hydro, it's really expensive because you're paying Tesla rates,
Oh, yeah, Tesla.
right?
Yeah,
You're paying for a premium for that access.
All right.
Yeah. So we were in a lot of really remote places, right?
Yeah. So during this trip, we discovered some new things. So yeah, remote, really remote.
Yeah. And these are places where if you were to hit a moose or a beaver
A beaver or a bear.
or a crow, less of a crow, probably a raven, that would do more damage. But also other vehicles and vehicular incidents where you could affect your insurance, because it's like he said, she said, I didn't run into the moose, the moose ran into me.
Or even a road accident. We had this
accidents.
guy, idiot. It was like there was this RV right in front of us,
Yeah.
and it was driving slow because of the bends, and
Yeah.
and with the 3 cars backed up, including us,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden, you saw this pickup, big, massive pickup, just crossing the double yellow lanes.
Double yellow. By the
and
way,
he didn't care.
It double any solid lines in anywhere in the country in the world probably
you
is no. You don't do that.
you don't.
There's a reason why, and this is tight, twisty turns.
That's right.
From Lillooet, which is
Crazy.
one of the most remote places, one of the remote places that we've been, and it was a double lane road. But there's a reason why you don't do that because there's no exits if you get into a car
It was
accident.
literally a cliff on the other side.
Yeah, it's a cliff on the other side,
So-
outside of Lillooet to Pemberton, right? So in those cases, if there was an accident and
Yeah.
you saw something like that, it's he said, she said, unless you had a silent witness. And what would that be?
A dash cam, I think.
Yes, a dash cam, right? Now you just recently bought a dash cam,
Yes,
right?
we needed one, and it was a nice one. It was on sale, so we got it, a rear and front.
Yep.
And it came with a 32 gig SD card. Is that enough?
How much footage do you get off that? How much footage have you noticed? Maybe a few hours.
Yeah, maybe half a day.
Yeah,
max.
especially in Richmond, BC, where there's a lot of accidents and you want to keep them. It significantly limits your ability to have a silent witness that's reliable because it will record over itself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
ideally, you want 2 or 3 days of coverage for front and rear, and that takes up even more footage.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably at least 1080p, so it's good quality footage. And also, the temperature swings in Canada are something that you need to look out for because we have cold winters that are negative 20, 40 in the prairies and also in Alberta. And then you have really hot summers now where it's 40 plus. And we drove through there. It was already
It was
32,
hot.
33. So the memory card in your camera, even I know you want to upgrade it.
Yeah, I need to
But you were
upgrade.
looking at these silly, weird brands on Amazon. It's like,
They were
is
on
this
sale?
good? Is this good? It might work for a few hours, but once you run them through, because of the number of write cycles on them,
because it's writing all of the time, right?
it's overwriting
You're
itself all the
overwriting, yeah,
time.
yeah.
So you need a durable card. So one of the nice things is that because we partner with Kingston, we had a chance to play with a lot of their products. And in the box that they sent us one of these guys, a few of these guys actually, the high endurance Kingston cards are built specifically for security cameras.
Oh, okay.
And-
Does it work on dash cam as well?
Yes, because in the photo right here,
it's a dash
in the
cam.
photo art, it actually has a dash cam as well too.
Okay.
So this is built specifically for your dash cam. So it has a wide temperature, much wider temperature range of
Yeah.
operation.
Yeah.
It also has read and write cycles that are much higher.
Yeah,
than
because
anything
your
else.
dash cam's in the window, and
Yeah.
the sun just beats on it.
Yeah, it beats the crap out of it. Like,
So it needs
Yeah.
that temperature range.
so you have to have that. I have a high endurance card in mine,
yeah.
and it's been there for 3 years.
Oh, it's completely read,
Yeah.
write all the way through.
Yeah, I had a dash cam before this.
Okay.
Before using one of these cards, it was another brand, and it actually died within a year. It wouldn't format anymore. It just didn't work anymore. So
Okay.
imagine if you were in a epic accident
Yeah, imagine that.
and you needed to prove yourself because it's he said, she said on the open road in the remote area. The pickup truck drives off and whatever, and then he calls ICBC and says that's our insurance corporation and says some dude hit me. It's he said, she said. So what happens is that both of you are at fault,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give this to you, Winston.
Oh, great. Thank you.
because you need that.
Yeah, I need that.
And take care of yourself because you're probably going to use your footage a lot because of where you live. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of new drivers.
There's a lot of new drivers. It's not just from where you're from. It is a little bit from where you're from because where you live, where you don't have the experience
Yeah.
of driving like many of us in Canada, where you're driving hundreds of kilometers a year, where in Asian countries or other countries.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you drive on the left while we drive on the right.
So there could be some confusion.
Yeah, I'm
okay?
UK, we drive on the right. And also from Hong Kong, you also drive on the right because
Yeah.
you're ex-British, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Unless you're from Taiwan, then you're an awesome driver, like
you're
our
on
friend
the left.
Nelly. Nelly's an awesome driver.
Yeah.
She made it all the way to work on her very first day, and she was very proud. And I am proud of her too because I don't want to drive in Taiwan either because
Yeah.
they're a little bit crazy. Anyway, I also want to touch on one more thing. Let's just
Right.
say that you are driving a Tesla, and a lot of people drive Teslas
They do.
throughout the province as well too.
Yeah.
They currently can't make it to Prince Rupert because there are no superchargers, but they could use the CCS network like we could with an adapter.
Yeah.
And also Rivians are rugged vehicles, which they want you to take on the rugged open road. That's why Rivian's been investing what they call the adventure network. So they have level 2 chargers at campgrounds,
Oh, okay.
at remote areas.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
But one thing that both of them have is a way to record accidents like a dash cam. So Tesla Sentry Mode, it records all the channels from your door mirrors, you know, in the front. It records everything. Our friend Andy Ruffle, he recently had a bit of an accident with his Tesla, but because he was able to record the incident, he's going to get paid back for the damage that he needs to.
Yeah, it was a stupid thing to do. It's single lane, very tight.
Yeah.
He had to stop, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And the other car or tractor actually had to also slow down and move, but he didn't. He just whipped.
He just whipped right by, and hopefully, and he probably has the license plate of that tractor, which is great. But one thing that you don't, because of that, one thing that you don't want to cheap out on, because Sentry Mode will run and record everything that's happened after hours as you're away from your vehicle.
It would take a lot of footage and storage, right? Yeah.
And because they don't use micro SD cards like your dash cam, like my dash cam, they
they?
use USB drives.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I want to talk about the Kingston XS 1000, which is a drive that is USB 3.2, Gen 2. Type C.
Yeah.
Or you can just use a regular USB. In Tesla's, they're Type C, so no problem. It's native. The cable comes in the box, and because it's got high read and write cycles, it's something that you can rely on.
Yeah.
And it's durable as well too.
What's the capacity on this?
This one here in my hand is actually a 1 terabyte.
1 terabyte. Yeah. Wow.
But they go up to 2 terabytes.
What? 2 terabytes? 2
terabytes. So that's many, many days of footage, right?
Yeah.
And because you're in a Tesla, you're relying on this to keep record of everything that happens, including all those people that are scratching your car, that are parking in behind you because they're a pickup truck that doesn't like you, so you can't get out, or anyone that tries to do funny things to your vehicle. They shouldn't be there. Having a really good drive is important. And because of the small size, it fits right into the area where the USB drive normally sits. Now, you can use any USB drive that you want, even one of the thumbsticks, but they're not reliable. You want something like this because it's a true SSD. Yeah. It's an NVMe SSD inside, which means that it's good for thousands of hours of write cycles and everything like that, and it's durable, so you can drop it on your way to your computer because you've got that guy on film, right? Just make sure you plug it back in. So that's why I want to talk about this, because if you don't have something like this in your vehicle, in your Tesla or your Rivian, because Rivians do also use them for recording, you're looking for the same issue with cheap micro SD cards. They will fail in the worst possible time. And,
I always do.
Yeah, and this is meant for a wide range of temperatures as well too.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that you have that silent witness on the road.
I'll use this. 256 gigas should be more than enough.
Oh yeah, that's a couple of days, at least a couple of days for you.
All right, so driving an EV, I noticed, you mentioned the word regen all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us what regen is to a lot of people, because I think regen is just electric going back into the motor, right? Also the battery, right? Tell us a little bit more.
Basically, regen is like regeneration, generator. Okay. It's a generator. So basically, as you slow down, you're actually using the power that's recaptured and sending it back into your battery.
Okay.
So when you have the go pedal on, you're expelling power. When you release the go pedal and you're in the off position, any forward momentum is recaptured and turned into electrical energy.
And you'll see that mostly when you're going downhill.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So
correct.
Going downhill, you're not using any throttle.
No.
There's no juice going into the motor.
Well, you're using less. So you're trying to maintain speed, but you're using less electricity to do that.
And when you're going down, the regen comes back in and charges the battery.
Correct. And that's why in a lot of cases where the vehicle is very clear about what the motor is doing, is that you'll see the battery go back in and come back out.
Yeah, I noticed because when I look at your range, it tells you the range, how many miles that you've got left of the battery, and it keeps on going up and down, up and down.
That's right.
It's because of the regen, right?
That's right. So you're putting more power in. When you're going up a hill, you're using a whole lot less. So you look at that thing go all the way down because it's using 60 kilowatts.
Okay.
When you go back downhill, you're actually using negative. Right? So you're putting it all back in. Right?
Okay.
It's not 100%, but it helps a lot. And the really great thing about an EV and regen is the fact that it puts almost no wear and tear on your brakes. So
yeah, I noticed that you mentioned that because
Yeah.
when I'm driving, well, we were following cars, the normal gas powered
Yeah.
cars, and they, for any car, any driver, when you see a curve
Yeah.
or a bend, most cars will hit the brakes because they need to slow down
Yeah.
going into the bend, right?
they have no regen, they have nothing pulling them back
So-
unless it's a manual.
Yeah. So they hit the brakes, and we could see the brake lights. Every car, every single car, brake
Yeah.
light, brake light, brake light, because they're slowing down in coming into a bend. With your car, you don't need to do that as much. Is that right?
It's like a go-kart if you've ever driven one, where you basically modulate the foot pedal to actually slow you down or bring you or speed up. So in corners, you can actually modulate that feeling so that you can actually get the most amount of traction and then push out of the corner as soon as you exit. So it's actually a very dynamic feeling, and especially if it's set up properly in the vehicle. Most people, when they get their vehicle, they put it in auto. You won't get that feeling because it's not set up for that. That's more set up for if you're driving in traffic, it'll slow down with the radar sensor to not hit the other car. It'll start dynamically slowing down. The way I drive my vehicle is I drive it on regen number 3, which is the maximum, and I always drive it in that mode because I want to recapture all the electricity that I am expelling from downhills, from dips in the road, et cetera, et cetera. And it also helps make driving more fun because you have the modulation in the corners and you don't have, you can full speed through the corner.
That's right. I think for a lot of, for example, my wife and a few others that drive electric vehicles, they rather drive as if it was like a gas car.
Yeah.
They, like you said, the modulation is probably off where takeoff is slower.
Yeah.
Taking corners, again, they'll probably hit the brakes because they
Yeah.
don't realize that it can be like the regen and stuff like that.
Quite pleasurable, and also you're 100% in control when you have that modulation.
Yeah.
Because if it's on off, it's not as fun. But having said that, though, even if you use just the brake in an EV, you're still recapturing some electricity.
Yeah.
You're just not getting all of it that you could if you're always doing that.
Yeah.
Because the brakes in an EV will come on at the very last few seconds as you bring your car to a stop.
That's right. That's where my wife is always complaining.
So it's always jerky.
Why are these Tesla drivers braking so late?
They're braking late, yes, because they're stopping at. But having said that, though, a lot of Tesla drivers, the way that they drive, it's not. It's an easy car to drive, but it's really annoying for some people behind them.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, with many people, don't believe that road trips can be done. Not just across Canada, but up north.
Yeah.
We've already proven them wrong. So as long as you're prepared and plan for it, you could be fine. It should be no problem. With so many charging stations being deployed now across Canada, I think the road trips, you can plan for your road trips and the road trips that you always wanted.
Yeah,
right?
and it's getting better too. And the last app I kind of want to tell everyone about is an app called PlugShare.
PlugShare.
Right. There's another app that's a kind of a competitor called Charge Hub, but it's not quite got the community behind it quite yet. But PlugShare is the one with the blue logo and the
blue plug, right?
And the reason why you want to kind of have something like that in conjunction with a better route planner is that the better route planner is doing as much as it can. Some of the stations are real time, but often not. They're not connected.
Okay.
So as you go to these stations, it's 50-50 whether it's available or not. PlugShare is crowdsourced information on all the chargers that you come across. So if you want to do some advanced scouting to see if whether or not this might be the only charger in town, or that maybe another charger is closer to a restaurant that you really want to check out, using PlugShare gives you intel on all the chargers available in the area surrounding the one that you might need to use based on a better route planner. But it also gives you all the other options, and it tells you what the ratings are of all the other options.
So it's the information is fairly up to date.
It's fairly up to date because it's crowdsourced. So as people in the community charge, like I did, I actually logged into PlugShare and I logged that it was a successful charge for us, no problem, and that increases the rating of that charger and the reliability. As well too. Yeah. So in the case of Petro-Canada, most of them are broken. That's why I avoided them like the plague. because I didn't want to be
Okay.
disappointed because they're rated 1 or below.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
True.
But all the electrifies were 10s here. All the BC hydros and flows were 10s or 9s, right? So we had a great opportunity to be able to track that and see them. And because PlugShare plugs into their API, you can actually see whether or not the stations are active or not,
Yeah.
which
That's
is a
good.
very good
That's
thing.
good.
Right. So that's the last thing I wanted to say about apps. That's the other very useful one. They have a ad driven version, or you can pay $1 a month to have it ad free.
yeah,
Which is not a big deal.
No, I really enjoyed the road trip because it's the first one actually I've ever been. And I couldn't believe we went to like
Went far.
1,920 kilometers. And the terrain, different terrains and that we came across and stuff like that, small towns.
So
we
many
visited.
ecosystems.
It was really exciting. And if you ever get a chance to do one of these, go for it because it's fun. You know, and any last words before we end the podcast?
I think that a lot of people have somewhat outdated and misconceptions about EV travel. I mean, clearly we had an opportunity to go somewhere where even 2 years ago, it was not that great of a route. It was so easy to go all the way to Prince George, which is the biggest northern city in British Columbia.
Yeah.
And there were more than enough charges for us to get there.
I was worried.
You know?
I was worried whether we have enough charges, but we were just stopping regularly anytime.
Anytime that we needed to get out of the car and
That's
pee,
right.
or you needed to take a phone call. There was a charger there. There was a charger there, and this is northern British Columbia. This is one of the most remote areas in Canada.
Yeah.
And yet it works in Canada.
We were driving for like hundreds of miles, and there was no car.
You're freaked out about that.
It was like crazy. It's like, what happens if you get stuck somewhere?
Yeah.
And that's important to make sure you have snacks, bedding,
Roadside equipment.
That's right.
Flares, candles, anything that you would prepare for a camping trip, have a smaller amount of it in the vehicle. In the case of an EV, please keep in mind that EVs are extremely efficient when you're stopped. So you're not burning any gas or anything like that. So, you would last a long time in the cold because it uses 0.5 of a kilowatt per hour. So on a 60 kilowatt battery, you're good for quite a few days probably.
That's right.
Versus a internal combustion engine where if you want to keep the AC on or keep the heat on, you're using 0.2 of a liter every hour.
Yeah, this gas versus electric. There's no.
Two different things, but the
Yeah.
advantages are becoming clear, especially in a place where there's a lot more infrastructure than you thought was available.
That's right.
And even for me, I drove in some places where I've never driven, and the road from Cache Creek into Pemberton is absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
Except for the idiots that drive on double lines and try to cut off all the traffic and cause accidents.
Yeah.
That aside,
Driving etiquette. Yeah.
driving etiquette is very important, and also keeping everyone in the car safe, as well as the people around you as well too. And if you are an EV driver for the first time and you're heading up there, EV drivers are extremely friendly. If you meet them at EV charge stops, they are more than willing to talk to you and share
That's right.
tips and tricks.
Exactly.
There was also even in Clearwater where we came upon a Chinese restaurant. A Chinese-Canadian restaurant. We met someone that was actually very interested in the vehicle that I was driving.
That's right.
And some of the information that she knew was actually clearly out of date. And she was updated because, hey, here are two guys that drove to Prince George. Here's what it cost us. And she's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I need to stop talking to the people I talk to.
I think she does 250 round trip every
125 from Clearwater to Kamloops. And she does it a couple times a week.
A couple of days,
a couple times a week.
Yeah.
More than enough. Even the dead of winter, my EV will do 330, and that's pushing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's plenty.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So that's all the time we have. So thank you for joining us on this podcast, the epic road trip, the experience that we get. It was amazing. So thank you, Stephen, for that. Again, if you have any questions regarding not just road trips, EVs in general, please leave a comment down below. Ask Stephen, get us on the email down below. You'll see that on the link there. And and make sure you subscribe because, by subscribing and clicking on that notification, you will get our latest shows each and every week on a Wednesday.
At noon.
At noon. And don't forget to, of course, follow us on the X Factor at our podcast show, and also Instagram. We got an Instagram page, right?
At our podcast show.
At our podcast show. That's
We're
right.
good there.
Yep. So until next time, this is Winston and Stephen on our podcast show. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.